Exploring Minnesota private colleges has never been easier. While in-person visits are limited this fall, you have options. Virtual options, that is, from self-guided tours to group events to one-on-one meetings with admission staff. No two colleges are alike, and there's sure to be a private college that's right for you. So start your college exploration online this fall. Learn more at mnprivatecolleges.org/explore.
Hi, this is Steve. This is the Murder Monday podcast, and this is called When the Investigator Becomes the Victim. People can be fascinating. We all have different ways we live our lives. Some let the wind take them where it goes, while some are reserved and meticulous, weighing out each and every decision before they actually move forward. Some people wake up when the alarm goes off, and others, like retired FBI agent Scott Horn, don't need an alarm. Scott had worked as a special agent for the FBI for over 30 years before retiring. Then, on March 16, 2017, something stopped happening, which had been happening since his daughter, Kelly Horn, could remember. On that morning, she didn't get a call from her father. He would call his daughter every day to make sure that she was awake, right around 7:30. Even when she said he didn't need to call her anymore, he still did. It was his routine. He was close with his daughter and son, as they were close with him. And on that cool March morning, there was no call, no text. Concerned, Kelly reached out to her father's neighbors. They knocked on the door, no sign of her father. Later that same day, police went to check on the house. They didn't see anything strange inside or around the house. But then just 2 hours later, Scott Horn's son arrived, looking for his father, which is when he claims that he had heard movement and what sounded like firewood being picked up and dumped behind his father's house. Scott Horn's son approached the shed and noticed a tarp which was covering an object that appeared to be in the shape of a person laying on the ground. The son lifted the tarp, found his father. Scott Horn had been shot in the neck. It also appeared that Scott Horn had been beaten to death with some of the firewood that had been left on his body. Trauma to both his face and the top half of his body was ruled as the cause of death. Besides being an FBI agent, Scott Horn was also a landlord with a reputation of carrying large sums of cash around from rent payments and for keeping it at his house. Police wondered if he may have been killed during a botched robbery, or if it was one of his tenants. Maybe they'd gotten mad at him. Could it be his soon-to-be ex-wife, who by the time his body was found, she was found upstairs in her bedroom? The mother of Scott Horn's children and his estranged wife was a woman named Ann. She had recently gotten home that day from the hospital that she worked at. Ann and Scott Horn lived in the same house, but they were not on speaking terms. There were rumors of physical abuse in their relationship. They'd slept in the same house, but go days without seeing each other. They even had locks on their respected bedroom doors. And despite a good career, police soon discovered that Scott Horn had racked up more than $200,000 in credit card debts spread across numerous cards. Ann also said that Scott had a gambling problem. There was also a report of a truck in front of the home the day before and on the day that Scott Horn's body was found. The truck belonged to a local handyman that had been contracted to do some work around the house. Investigators had plenty of theories, but no real evidence except a body. There was no DNA evidence at the crime scene, as well as an estranged wife upstairs when the body was found. Investigators had a strange puzzle on their hand. Who would want to kill a former FBI agent, shoot him in the back of the neck, and then beat him with his own firewood? Was it maybe his soon-to-be ex-wife, Ann? And who exactly was that handyman? Maybe he had rubbed somebody the wrong way. Maybe he had picked the wrong pony one too many times. We'll try to find out next on Murder Monday. Can gambling debts lead to murder? Or could an upset ex-spouse have gotten help and killed her 62-year-old husband? Former FBI agent Scott Horn had been a major part in the FBI for nearly 30 years. He was even part of the investigation into the 2003 DC sniper. Horn was found beaten to death outside his Maryland home in March of 2017. The father of two had been going through divorce that had stopped and started multiple times. He had also owned a number of rental properties, and his estranged wife, a nurse at a nearby medical hospital, said that he was a pretty big gambler. He was also responsible for the couple being at nearly $200,000 in debt. Scott and his ex Ann had a combative relationship about the best way to raise their now adult children, and were in the process of divorcing at the time of Scott's murder. They'd go days without seeing each other. They even had locks on their respective bedroom doors, and a number of signs were, of course, pointing at his estranged wife, Ann, as his killer. Police eventually heard some of the rumors that Ann, who was supposedly trying to work things out with Scott, was in reality dating the handyman. Investigators had no evidence, but it makes sense to the theory that the couple of his ex-wife and the handyman maybe murdered Scott Horn for a life insurance payout and a piece of his rental properties. Police moved forward and arrested Ann and her new beau, the handyman, for the murder of Scott Horn. This seemed to be a dream case for prosecutors. It's open and shut, right? No, because for Ann, Scott Horn dead was a bigger financial burden to her than if she had just gotten divorced. The insurance money that they would get wouldn't have been enough to cover all the debt that Scott Horn had left. There's also a real lack of evidence. All the police could find was wood chips inside the home's washing machine. But there was no DNA, nothing that would link Ann to the crime. Police were never even able to recover a weapon. It did go to trial, and 3 weeks later, jurors seemed convinced that while she may not have loved her husband and the handyman were not guilty in the murder of Scott Horn. Both were released from prison, except Ann was charged not even 3 months later with 2 felony counts of trying to influence state witnesses and 1 count of obstruction of justice. Investigators now claim that Ann stopped her children from testifying. While she was awaiting trial, she had reached out to a woman and asked her to relay a message to her children. Court documents state that she told the woman her adult children needed to be persuaded to not talk. But since these charges have been filed in January of 2019, nothing has happened to Ann, and Scott Horn's presumed killer, whoever they may be, is still on the loose.
Exploring Minnesota private colleges has never been easier. While in-person visits are limited this fall, you have options. Virtual options, that is, from self-guided tours to group events to one-on-one meetings with admission staff. No 2 colleges are alike, and there's sure to be a private college that's right for you. So start your college exploration online this fall. Learn more at mnprivatecolleges.org/explore.